golfing over the weekend as the world economy is lit on fire.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh with our outstanding producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite, the world headquarters of Civic Media, downtown Madison. Skies are partly cloudy or partly sunny, whichever you prefer. Not too bad of a day, a little chill in the air, Mr. Zommers, but glad to be back on the air with you. You were down at that Brewer blowout last night, but not in a good way.
I sure was, and it sure was demoralizing.
But you had great seats, and I'm sure you had a great time.
I did have great seats. It was a good time, but it also, there was one point in, I believe, the seventh inning, I might be remembering incorrectly, towards the end of the game, where the bases were loaded. We could have gotten a grand slam, or something, but no, it just petered out. The Brewers never caught their footing.
Tough game for the Brewers last night against the Tigers. They'll try again this evening. Pre-game show starts at 6:05 across the network in Richland Center, Oshkosh, Racine, Kenosha, Park Falls, and beautiful Hayward. The Tigers against the Brewers tonight at 6:05. And it's tax day. One of my least favorite holidays or days in America is tax day. But one of my favorite people in all of America joins us now on Tuesdays. He is the host of Up North News Radio every morning from 6 until 8. And I think now I can I announce the new part now as well?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
yes.
And starting next Wednesday, the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Mr. Pat Kreitlow, how are you, Patrick?
I'm great because it is tax day, one of my favorite days of the year.
Oh, good Lord. Why?
And I'll tell you why.
Please.
In the many people that I met while serving in the legislature and running for Congress, I will never forget one particular farmer who had done very well for himself, and he was quite old by this point.
Sure.
And he said, there used to be more people like me who said this, but I love paying my taxes because it reminds me how far I have come in life, that there were days when I'm the one who needed help. I needed handouts or a hand up, and now my taxes go toward educating our kids, having good roads, all the things that make Wisconsin better than almost any place else in the world to live. And that is something we should be proud of, not cynical about. He described himself as an FDR New Deal Democrat because he was old enough to remember, what times were like when times were a lot tougher. And it's so easy for us to be cynical and selfish and believe that all of the bad things in the past are staying in the past. But if we've learned nothing over the past, couple of months, it's that some of the worst features of that era, the pre-New Deal era, can very much happen again. So we'd best be thankful for what we've got, and we'd best not take it for granted.
I think that's a lovely, lovely sentiment. And I agree. We're fortunate to live in a country where there are services. And to get those services, I get it. Of course, if you want good roads, look, we all got to pay taxes. We got to have good roads, things like that. It doesn't take the burn off my wallet anymore because I save up. I knew I was going to have to pay this year. And I knew I had to say, and now I have this nice little savings, and now it's all gone.
But it's like saying, oh, Christmas really snuck up on me. No, it didn't. It's December 25th every year. And if you're either expecting a really big refund or you've really got to pay in a lot, Well, again, that's not the fault of, the government. You got to plan these things out because you roughly know your income, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So you're either withholding too much or too little. And by the way, don't take all this pleasant rhetoric about it as any kind of, endorsement of the current tax system. It's a joke. It was made more of a joke by Donald Trump, Ron Johnson, and others in 2017. And I cannot believe we are at this point again where the disaster they created then is about to be recreated here. There's all the politicians that are like, oh, we should have a flat tax and something so simple you can put it on a postcard. Well, first off, no, we need the exact opposite of a flat tax. And second, yes, we could make the system a lot easier. The IRS pretty much knows what your income is. They could tell you. In many other countries, they send you a letter saying, here was your income, here was your situation. If it hasn't changed at all, here's what your tax or your refund would be. And we could simplify it that way, but there are too many people, places, companies that make money off of the tax industry to allow Congress to ever make taxes easier on us, and that's a damn shame.
Yeah, I pretty much go along with that. I have an absolute bias, so I come to it with a personal bias because my years as being a small business owner in Wisconsin and employing around a dozen people part-time, well, one guy full-time. And I just, in my experience and talking to other people the same way, that more to your point, Pat, that the way, even in the state of Wisconsin, you're working 90 hours a week when you're running your own business, and then you got yahoos that are like, oh, you didn't file a piece of paper that said you're going to be paying us taxes. Did I pay all my taxes? Yes, but you never filed a piece of paper, so that's a $1,500 fine.
I could not agree with you more because when I first knew I might be running for elected office, and we had when we had kids here, and we were both working crazy jobs, and so we hired a cleaning lady. And remember the old days when a cleaning lady, that was enough that you couldn't get a cabinet appointment for a newly elected president because you didn't pay taxes on the cleaning lady's income. So I wanted to make sure to follow those rules. And so let me say for the record here, because I still have an LLC, I do nothing with it, but I just wanted it to be there just in case.
Sure.
The system in Wisconsin is an absolute joke. It is. It is everything that you just said and more. And if I could have tackled anything else as a legislator, it would have been to tear into that and say, why does this have to be so complex? So again, don't take my comments on the concept of taxation going to good things versus an endorsement of the tax system. Right. It's awful and needs to be fixed.
One quick thing, if you because I've been there. And so confused, I seize up because partly my dyslexia is more numbers than letters, but I can look at a state budget, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar state budget. I can explain it to people fine, but to sit and do things like my taxes, it just freaks me out. And so I was in the place in years past where I didn't want to do something wrong and file something incorrectly, so I just didn't file. And I thought it was better not to do something incorrectly. That's, by the way, that's the wrong answer. If you're out there and you're like me, at least file an extension. You could go online, do it fairly easily. They ask you to pay what you think you might owe if you owe anything. If you don't think you're going to owe anything, just file that extension. It's a one-page form, and it'll save you a lot of headaches moving forward because, folks, I've been there.
Absolutely. And yes, I've said multiple times, if you can't make it today, don't skip it. The only people who can skip on taxes today are millionaires and billionaires because Donald Trump gutted the IRS, not the one that goes after regular folks, the one that goes after multimillionaires skipping out on their taxes. Joe Schmo, not going to get away with it. So file the extension if you can't get it done today.
This is your tax service from Pat and Todd.
That's we are the H&R Blockheads.
I do my taxes now. The great folks at H&R Block in
Same here.
Wisconsin.
Yep.
And my tax preparer, her name is Faith Block. I'm not making that up. No relation. Wow. But and I just, so I can report to you that my taxes have been filed and my debts to society have been paid.
Same here. Pat, I noticed my bank account shortly after midnight had the correct amount plucked out of it. I'm like, well, you guys didn't waste any time. Okay.
Nope.
Yep.
Not at all.
All right, here we go.
In all seriousness, Patrick, a quick apology on the air. I did this last week off the air because last week I had been told, and Zommers is my witness.
Oh, not this
Zommers
again.
is my-
Stop it.
No,
Stop it.
quickly, I
The
just wanna
lineup
do
is
this.
out there. It's okay.
I know, but I did this. I really feel terribly because as Zommers is my witness, I was told I was free to talk about the lineup, and then I blew it because you had not announced on your show that you're on the new lineup, and I really, really felt badly. So I apologize to you and your listeners for getting ahead of the game on that. That's on me.
That's okay.
So we'll talk about the new lineup and the new show. It's very exciting.
I filled in for somebody on this network yesterday, and my first question to the producer was, have they mentioned the change yet on this show? Nope. Oh, it's going to be awkward talking about my change, but okay, here we go. But, people have sick days and things like that. Anyway, Up North News Radio is getting a name change. It's getting a new time slot, an expanded time slot. Instead of 6 to 8 on weekday mornings, it'll be 6 to 9. So there's more me to go around, apparently.
Wow,
Followed by Matt and Air on Air from 9 to 11 will be their new time. And then, of course, your new time is 2 to 4. And I'm...
Wait, it is?
Oh, don't do this again. No.
It is.
So I'm very flattered to be asked to do an extra hour programming. I hope it's a nice endorsement of what we're doing. In terms of, will we be doing much of anything different? Two things. One is that I am, and I haven't even announced this on my show yet. Something else we're breaking on your show first is I'm tired of fighting with Facebook and YouTube and other social media companies when we play music, pop music. We're still going to do the This Day in Music History thing, and we're going to find a way to keep that section off of social media or something. But in terms of all of our other bumper music and everything, it's just too much of a hassle. And there's a lot of great, independent music out there that's not restricted by license. So it'll sound a little different. It'll have a different name, Mornings. With Pat Kreitlow. Yeah.
With the conveniently named Pat
With the
Kreitlow.
conveniently named Pat Kreitlow. It'll have that. And then the one other thing is that obviously with an extra hour, I tend to do some kind of we have a regular stable of guests at 6:30. We try to bring in newsmakers and political folks at 7:30. Well, now at 8:30, I'm hoping to do the other thing that we do at Up North News, which is much more Wisconsin features. We don't do enough features on our radio show. So if we can talk about people, places, food, drink, all things that, as one man likes to say, make Wisconsin great, I think that's a very noteworthy thing, and I hope people will give us ideas for guests and topics.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's, I of all people, change is never easy, but I think there's some good things happening, and certainly part of it is increasing your show to 3 hours. LA Tom on YouTube said, asking about Earl Ingram's show, and just make sure that folks know, I know Jane talked about this morning on her show. Earl is not going anywhere, by the way. Earl and Civic and Earl have agreed to this. And I'm told he's excited about it, that he is, instead of doing his morning show, he is going to be an ongoing special correspondent to Civic. He is going to do kind of a podcast type of thing and be on different shows.
He'll be on our show, and we'll be talking to Chad Holmes that way as well. A lot of fun ahead of us.
So Earl's not going anywhere. Hope you aren't either. Come on back. Pat Kreitlow, Todd Allbaugh, Zommers on the other side. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday on the Civic Media Radio Network. Do you feel like getting into a little bit of the Trump-Bukele meeting yesterday?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Or is there anything sexier in the state level you want to talk about?
I mean, the guy that's thinking of running for governor, but maybe you had that yesterday.
No, I didn't. I talked to Jane about it. I did a hit on her show today. Okay. I've literally never heard of this guy.
Yeah, same. But the reason I jumped on it was because of all the cliches that were in it. Boys are boys and girls are girls.
Right. Well, let's pick that up. Just do
if you want
a minute or two. Yeah, let's do a minute or two of that, because I think it does cross over into the Bukele meeting where Trump looked at Bukele and said, "You don't let men play in girls' sports in El Salvador, do you?" And no, we protect women, and then it goes on from there. So, but we have a couple of cuts of not that one, but a couple other ones we can get into.
You might be able to hear now what he was saying.
Okay, it's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Jeff Perry, that's
How it
fantastic.
is now for hands-free, cozy fit Skechers slip-ins.
The good news and bad news. Good news is my refund is $47,000. The bad news is I'm going to federal prison.
See, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft felted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America.
With pontoon fishing knowledge so large, he had to go to 3 hours to give it to you every morning. Pat Kreitlow of the newly named Mornings with Pat Kreitlow starting next week across Civic Media from 6 until 9 a.m. Pat Kreitlow joins us every Tuesday. We'll see. We're kind of working out all of our new schedules. But the good news is we'll still talk to you once a week at some point.
Well, I just want to find out with the new schedule whether Old Man Trigvy is still coming along, and if so, can I get back to being reunited with him? Because he makes me sound so young and virile all the time here. So
that's fantastic.
I would go for that. I can learn so much at his knee. I tell you.
We'll see if we can get the band back together here.
Right.
April 15th, it is tax day. This is from the no, Todd. They're never listening to us. Pat and I were talking last segment about today being tax day. I'm not joking around.
What?
Literally during the break
around.
on my I'm not joking around. On my phone, this pops up. The weight we carry, a tax day reflection from Main Street. For small business owners, it's some. And I mean, look at this. You just talk about it, and suddenly something pops up on your phone about what you're. No, we're not being listened to by anybody.
No. It's all good. I mean, very secure.
Lordy.
Yeah.
Jeff Perry, our ongoing contributor and friend on Facebook, saying, I have good news and bad news. This tax day, the good news is my refund this year, $47,000. The bad news, I'm going to federal prison.
I would suggest spending that refund
Quickly.
very quickly.
I would suggest spending it not at all.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Oh, Lordy. Pat, it's lots going on. News as it is every day. I talked about this a bit with Jane and Greg on Matt on air this morning. I know you did on Up North News as well. There is a new candidate on the Republican side, a new billionaire boy who wants to be governor.
Well, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but I do know he's the CEO business owner. And that being the case, it means that we're doing another round of the Tim Michaels, Eric Hovde, let's run government like a business, let's bring out all the same old tropes. And whatever this guy's situation is, his announcement read no different. He's a carbon copy of Tim Michaels and Eric Hovde. And all I'm saying, and I'm not trying to make trouble. That's not true. No. I'm trying to make trouble here. Is
good trouble.
Will somebody in the Republican Party of Wisconsin stand up and go, no, let's not try this again. Now, I'm not saying that there's some other perfect candidate who would be the GOP nominee for governor. I'm just saying that if you're going to run the same model for a third time at least, I mean, I think they were all hoping the Ron Johnson model would stick, wealthy business guy. But remember, he got a lot more money behind him. And even then, he only squeaked through last time. Maybe you want to look at, again, I just imagine Rebecca Kleefisch looking at the radio going, right?
The key is, I think, in Ron Johnson's case, use your wife's money.
Yes.
That's the key for Ron Johnson. No, this story we're talking about by Molly Beck in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today. Look, I spent 30 years in the Republican Party before leaving in 2011. Guy's name is Bill Berrien, or Berrien, I guess, Berrien.
Hey,
Never heard of the guy.
Pro tip, if you're thinking of running for something, find a way to get the pronunciation of your name in there. Have a little fun with it or something,
Yeah, no idea. Never heard of him before. Owns some company called Pindle Global Precision and Liberty Precision in New Berlin. And, he brings out and look, we've done shows on military bases. I have great respect for our veterans and everybody who wears the uniform. But here's another guy, says he, like Derek Van Orton, he was a former or a Navy SEAL. Look, if he was, God bless him for his service. But that seems to be a calling card. Oh, and by the way, I'm a multimillionaire. And he goes on, Pat, with some of the same tropes that we've seen from MAGA Republicans.
Yeah, the whole, boys should be boys, girls should be girls. Let's beat up on China. Let's give parent choice in education. Parents already have a say in their child's education. So I'm not hearing anything other than, him citing Donald Trump is going to spur the reindustrialization of America, which tells me this guy hasn't watched the news the past couple of days because there's nothing about this current tariff policy that is going to reindustrialize. We're currently in the process of depopulating America, and we were already involved in a worker shortage. So unless this guy's got some new answers, it's just a retread.
And we played the cut yesterday of Trump on his Air Force One going to the UFC fight at taxpayer expense, and talking about these tariffs, or not just the tariffs, but also the deportations, and saying things like, maybe we're going to work with the farmers. Look, if the farmer vouches for some of these guys and they say they're okay, we'll let them stay a little while longer. Oh, same for the service industry people, the restaurant servers. It's still, if it wasn't so sad, Pat, it would be comical how he's walking certain things back, because guess what? The tropes and the lies he was telling that immigrants are taking people's jobs, for the most part, if not all, simply not true.
No, not even close to it. And unfortunately, far too many people are still, shall we say, intimidated to the point that they don't want to have a robust pro-immigration stance to them. You always have it couched in, if anybody commits crimes, they shouldn't be. Yeah, we know that. We know that. We lock up criminals currently, but if you're going to lead with the fraction of immigrants who commit crimes, you're going to throw overboard all the people who are coming here wanting to chase the American dream, wanting to fill the jobs that we are desperate to have people fill, to build the prosperity of this country as the baby boomers continue to age out and fade away. We are doing this so backwards right now. And nobody's got the guts to say that this is a policy that has no economic basis, and it's not based in public safety. The statistics are there. It's not based in public safety. So what's left? Racism. It's a state-sanctioned racist policy designed to win over enough white voters to go, yeah, I feel aggrieved by these people who don't look like me. There's no thought into it whatsoever, and it's going to be so bad for our country in the long run.
We're going to come back and talk about this meeting yesterday at the White House with Trump and Salvadoran President Bukele. Minute left, Pat. Your thoughts on it before we go to break?
I just don't even know how to handle people that don't recognize the constitutional crisis that we're in. The only thing left to trigger it is for Trump to step up to a bank of microphones and say to the Supreme Court, you and what army? And at that point, we're going to realize this is a guy that has no intention of holding free and fair elections or ever stepping down. And then the question becomes, what are we going to do next?
Yeah. What we're going to do next is go through some of this, play some of these cuts from Trump and Bukele themselves. I agree with Pat. We are in a constitutional crisis. Never a crisis, though. Pat always makes us feel better every morning, 6 until 8, and soon 6 until 9. Thanks, Pat. We appreciate you.
Yep.
Back after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Whammo.
Look at that, just like the pro he is.
Just,
bada bing, bada bing.
I know, it's a beautiful thing. All right.
Thank you, Pat. We appreciate you.
See ya. Bye, Aaron.
All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Anytime, find all of it at civicmedia.us. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
With more and more sunshine today, winds are still whipping out of the northwest, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. But those high temperatures still tap 50. With the high system settling in tomorrow, it'll be bright and beautiful.
Sorry, I know that was a
Sunshine
loud
and
whip
warmer
today.
too. With
I
highs
intended
in
it to
the
be
upper
loud, but maybe I
50s.
shouldn't have done it
I'm
that loud.
meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, 44 degrees.
WMDX is proud to present the 2025 Milwaukee Film Festival. The two-week fest is back April 24th through May 8th. Whether you're a film fanatic or just looking for something to do with the family, there's something to watch for everyone. From hard-hitting local documentaries to lighthearted international comedies, plus special panels, book signings, and even live score performances. The Milwaukee Film Festival is jam-packed. Head to our website, WMDXradio.com, for details.
The John and Gordy Show.
Chicken cordon bleu?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? Do you have Julian standing by?
I do have Julian to
Well,
tell
let's
us.
hear him.
It is said cordon bleu.
Well, cordon
Seems
bleu,
odd.
please. It's like the first time you've gone to the restaurant. Could I have
For
some
those of
cordon
you who've
bleu?
heard this promo anywhere near as many times as I have,
sir.
I'm
We
sorry.
don't serve cocaine here.
It's very
Weekday
funny,
mornings,
but
6
I'm
till
working
8
on getting
on
some fresh stuff in there.
92.7
Hopefully I can this
WMDX
afternoon.
and the
It's just
Civic
been a lot
Media
to
app.
do with the schedule change and, some interim
Jane Matnair and Greg Bob.
measures we
Coming
have.
up on the show, what are the latest scams going around that we need to be aware of? Lisa Schiller from the Better Business Bureau
Also, I
joins us.
texted
Don't
you.
miss it.
Matt Nair
I
on
saw
air.
that.
Weekday mornings at 11.
Ah, yes. Look at this. For people watching the stream, fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 now past the hour of 12 noon on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Many thanks to Patrick Kreitlow for being with us. Pat now going to be starting next Wednesday every morning from 6 until 9 across the Civic Media Radio Network. Excited about that. More Pat is great. It's fantastic every morning here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Over the break, you might have heard a little meditation music. Meditation music, for, especially those watching on the stream. So we're working out a couple of bugs. Everything is fine. No worries. Glad to be back with you. So just hang tight wherever you're at. We're working on a couple of things right now. But in the meantime, that was great, Sommers. I felt like I could just zen out for about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That was play that for people that might not have heard it because it's very therapeutic. I feel like the Skeksis in Dark Crystal.
Normally that's our good movie. Good movie.
That's one of my sister's favorite movies, Dark Crystal.
It's one of my favorites. Too.
Really?
I love practical effects in movies, and I love Frank Oz.
It's fantastic.
And all that good stuff.
Anyway, it's going to be thank you very much for Pat Kreitlow for being here. And coming up at the 1 o'clock hour, very excited about this. TJ Samanchin is going to be here. He is the president and CEO of Wonder State Coffee, who, of course, is the 2025 Coffee Roaster of the Year, as named by Roast Magazine, top roaster in America. Very, very excited. Of course, they were so kind as to host us last year, Trigby and Reed Galen and myself. We took the show on the road. We did the show for the main cafe in Viroqua. TJ is going to join us to talk about the effects. He's part of Main Street Alliance here in Wisconsin. And he's going to be here to talk about the real effects of the Trump tariffs on people like him. Somebody who imports coffee, roasts coffee, has cafes. What do these Trump tariffs mean for Wisconsin small business owners? We will talk to TJ Samanchin after the top of the hour. And we have a what's worse for you as well. And much, much more. Right now, I want to turn our attention, touched on it before the break, to this White House meeting yesterday with President Donald Trump and the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. And I think before we get into the cuts, I got a couple of cuts for you. I want to give you a little history. As our friend Matt Flynn likes to say, you're not woke unless you know history. You're not woke unless and until you know history. And he's very right about that. Never thought that my life knowledge and history of El Salvador and Salvadoran politics would ever come into play, especially here, but here we are. So for those that might not know, I'm not going to tell the whole story again, but basically went for the first time to El Salvador in December of 1991 with a friend of mine from college who was from there. We had hosted him as an exchange student in college, ended up going down there. And in 91, just before the peace accords were signed to end the 12-year civil war that killed upwards of 80,000 Salvadorans in that civil war. And thus began my journeys to El Salvador and went back 39 times thus far. My last time was in 2019. So I know the country fairly well, especially for a gringo. And I've seen this country go from civil war and destruction and bombed out roads to a vibrant economy. And the through line are the people of El Salvador. Wonderful, wonderful people, better people you will not find. And what needs to be said at the top of this thing, and the reason you need to understand why Nayib Bukele is so popular in his country, is that these folks in El Salvador have endured all kinds of strife, death, fear, crime. There are people in El Salvador that have, up until Nayib Bukele came along, were taking different routes home for fear they'd be followed and robbed at gunpoint. Lots of places you couldn't be out after dark. I know business owners in El Salvador that were serious when they said, look, if you would say, let me chop off your left arm and we'll end the crime and the gang violence in El Salvador, I would do it. They were serious about that because it was so bad. And also, Nayib Bukele used to be part of the FMLN, the more liberal party. It was the opposition party during the Civil War that got rolled into an opposition party, and they've actually had a couple of presidents elected under FMLN. And Nayib was next. He was the mayor of San Salvador. And he did a lot of good things in San Salvador. He lowered crime to a certain extent. He invested in public spaces and infrastructure, and he wanted to run for president in 2018, 2019. And his own party, the FMLN, said, no, you're not next in the line, and said, we're not going to endorse you. We're endorsing this other guy. And he said, look, that guy doesn't have much experience and has done as much as me. And he said, no. Just wait your turn, Nayib. And one of his parents, I forget which one, I think is originally from Egypt. And so that's why he has not a common Spanish sounding or name. It's a Egyptian more name. I think his dad is from Egypt originally. His mom is from El Salvador. Don't quote me on that, but that's more or less it. And he said, well, screw that. And he was like in his late 30s. And he said, so he's kind of the El Salvador version of Barack Obama. Young, good looking, wears a leather jacket and a baseball cap, super articulate, educated partly in college in the United States, fluent in English and Spanish and probably a couple more languages I don't know, and very proficient on social media, in particular Twitter. And he went to the Salvadoran people and said, look, and this is true, both the right-leaning party, Arena, and the left-leaning party, FMLN, we've had presidents from both. Guess what? Most of our former presidents from both parties are in jail because they're criminals, and they stole from us. How about we start a new party with new ideas? In fact, we'll call it the New Ideas Party. In Spanish, it's called Nuevas Ideas. And he started it, largely by himself and his supporters on Twitter. And it caught fire. And he was elected by a huge margin. And then what happened, to shorten it up a little bit, is he said, look, I want to do this stuff. And the Supreme Court said, wait, you can't do that. That's against the Constitution. And he said, well, look, see, I'm trying to do stuff, and these Supreme Court justices appointed by former presidents are holding this up. And the legislature, he didn't have a majority. They have a unicameral legislature, just one general assembly. And the assembly was kind of like, well, you know, we want to help you. And so what he did was he brought in the military into the National Assembly. And they were all armed and around the exterior of the floor of the assembly. And he went to the dais in front, and he said, I'm here to pray. I'm here to pray that God will lead the assembly in doing the right thing and voting me the authority to do what the people have elected me to do. I'm going to leave now, but I'll leave the military here to make sure they encourage you to vote the way that God would have you vote. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he brought the military in. He said something similar, and he left. And guess what? The military the legislature voted to give him the power. And they threw out the Supreme Court justices in El Salvador that disagreed with Bukele. He installed yes people. The press, La Prensa Gráfica and Diario de Hoy, they called him out. He intimidated the press. Sound familiar? And the people loved it because they said, finally, someone's doing what we want them to do. And he pushed through his reforms. And guess what? During COVID, he had testing kits and masks and vitamins, and that's a whole other kettle of fish, that he delivered to every Salvadoran home. He fixed roads and infrastructures, and he suspended the law and the Constitution of El Salvador and installed martial law. And they set up a text line in I'm not making this up. They set up a text line in El Salvador. If you feel somebody that you know or a neighbor belongs to a gang, text us, and we'll come get them. And they did. And there is essentially no checks or balances, no trials. They got sent to this big prison in El Salvador that Nayib built. Beyond high security, they literally stack inmates up like dog kennels on top of one another. 30, 40 guys into a cell. And so what was happening, of course, is that some people are like, well, that guy slept with my wife. And they text into the anonymous line, this guy's a gang member. Gone. And the people love it because I haven't been there since 2019, the longest time I've gone now since I started going that I haven't been back. But what I'm told by a lot of people that I know who have been there, who still live there, is that it is so much safer, and the Salvadorans love it. And he suspended the Constitution because you're only supposed to have 1 5-year term in El Salvador. He got them to say, hey, have another term. And he won by 90% in an internationally watched, democratically free and fair election. So that's the history that everybody needs to know about this guy, Nayib Bukele. And in my opinion now, I believe that Donald Trump is looking at Nayib and is insanely jealous and wants to be that. And I've said, and Nayib, he loves the fact he's called a dictator by the outsiders. And he calls himself the cool dictator. And Salvadorans love it for the most part. Not everybody, but for the most part. So, and this is the guy that did not get along with Biden at all, Bukele, because the Biden administration was calling him out, saying, look, human rights abuses, you didn't respect the Constitution, you were using the military improperly. And so Biden and Bukele did not get along at all. And now you got Trump. Trump makes a deal. Bukele will give you $6 million to take whoever we send you. Bukele says he's transactional. Sure. Gets invited to the White House. Makes him look in Salvadoran eyes like a winner. And then this meeting yesterday in the Oval Office. Do we have time for the first cut, Zommers? So here is Nayib Bukele talking off camera or off microphone for U.S., but Trump was showing Bukele around the Oval Office, and there was a Salvadoran presser that had their mic on, caught Trump telling Bukele it's not just outsiders he wants to send to Salvadoran prisons, it's American citizens.
The mandate, the people wanted to change everything, and they wanted to be the man. They love you. They love what you do. I'm not feel supportive. I want them to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right? it's not big enough. No, yeah. Come on. So this is a much different office than you're in.
It's hard to make out, but I want it. What the key line is when Trump says the homegrowns are next, and Bukele says that's fair. We have space. The homegrowns, and later when the American press were there, they asked him, and he didn't deny it. He said, "Look, if they're homegrowns," and of course he always puts the caveat in. Well, I'm having the Attorney General look at this, Pam Bondi. We want to follow the law, but if we're able to do it, we're only talking about the really bad people. The bad people that Donald Trump has said are really bad people, like former General Mark Milley, like Joe Biden, like Liz Cheney, like Adam Kinzinger. You understand now where we're going? Trump wants, it is insinuating, not even insinuating, saying it right out. He wants to send American citizens to a Salvadoran prison with no chance to return, no habeas corpus, no due process, no constitutional rights, that will never come back. And they're the people that he deems, Trump himself, are dangerous. 855-752-4842. Going to come back, play more cuts from this meeting from yesterday. It's the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
The Furlough Mismatch Sale is back. It's our
It
biggest
appears
sale
what
of
happened
the
last
year.
segment
Mismatch
is
on the
the
outside, same furlough long-lasting
ag news with
craftsmanship on the inside,
Pam
and it's
Yankee
backed
just
by
didn't
our
play.
lifetime comfort guarantee.
Got
So hurry in now for additional savings on every mattress and box spring. Plus, get huge savings on adjustable bases. And the more you buy,
I'm
the
no
more
Pam
you save
Yankee,
on
so I can't do the
accessory
ag
bundles.
news.
It's our biggest sale of the year. Wake up. Sleep
Also, I
better.
had to do the horse noise. I
That was
didn't
pretty
have
funny.
to, but I wanted to.
Yes, John, this is a cookie we're going to talk about from Wonder State Coffee. I'm addicted to it. It's the chocolate chunk salted, or the salted chocolate chunk cookie at Wonder
Seriously,
State.
they are so good.
Oh, they're
Like Todd got me one or part of one once, and I think I might have to go there.
I'm sorry to eat. I'm sorry to eat in front of you all. I apologize.
And to learn about sponsorship opportunities.
And yes, for those of you who may see all the YouTube comments about the schedule changes, we've got. I'll go through it quick. So 6 to 9 across most of the network. There will be local shows like John and Gordy in Madison and Mino and the Mayor in Green Bay, but mostly 6 to 9 across the network. Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. 9 to 11, Matt and Air on air. 11 to 2, the Tom Hartman program. 2 to 4, the Todd Allbaugh show. With Todd Allbaugh. 4 to 6, Maggie Dawn, and 6 to 8, Nightlight.
We get the chance to stand up and do something.
And then at 8 o'clock every night, it'll be the UFC cage fight.
From the lake shores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin.
No,
and
I'm just
Minnesota.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. 9 before the hour, 1 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC, CBS News. Check out the local news, weather, and sports. And then coming up, TJ Samanchian, President and CEO of Wonder State Coffee, headquartered in Viroqua, Wisconsin, in the beautiful Driftless, the 2025 Roaster of the Year. And, of course, has cafes across Wisconsin. Talk about that, but TJ is part of Wonder State as a member of the Wisconsin Main Street Alliance, talking about the effects of the Trump tariffs on Wisconsin businesses. That's coming up after 1 o'clock, and a What's the Worst in hour number 2 as well. Right now, talking and breaking down this meeting in the Oval Office yesterday, Donald Trump meeting with Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele. I gave you the background here in the last segment. I want to play this cut where Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, talks about the criticism that he's had from outside about locking up thousands of Salvadorans, many without a trial, and it's believed to be many innocent people for the reasons I stated in the last segment. And here is his response and also his advice to Donald Trump about what he should do in the United States of America.
Sometimes they say that we imprison thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. So, it's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
Trump loved it. If you didn't get it, because, again, the audio is a little, not Zomer's fault, it's just the source. But Nayib Bukele says, hey, we get criticized for imprisoning thousands. But the way I look at it is we liberated millions. And I'll tell you, most Salvadorans agree with him. They feel liberated from crime and gangs. And they're like, yeah, it's too bad that some innocent people got roped up. But unless it's one of your relatives or friends, you don't care. Because crime is so much, is almost, they've gone from the murder capital of the Western Hemisphere to one of the safest places now in the Western Hemisphere in El Salvador. And Trump, just with wide eyes, says, that's a great line. Who gave him that line? Can I use that? And Nayib goes on to tell Trump, hey, look, your responsibility is to 350 million Americans. Liberate them. Goading them on, saying, do more of this stuff. Well, I'll play one more cut quick. It's kind of slightly different, but one of the reporters, CNN, was asking, I think Caitlin Collins, and again, the brashness of Donald Trump and his opinion of the free press in the United States.
What they've done to us at the border should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin, what they did, and you are helping us out, and we appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
That, as of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN. CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
The President of the United States, the Oval Office, saying one of the major media outlets in America, CNN, quote, hates our country. Imagine if, as Trygve Olster reminds us, imagine if Barack Obama in the Oval Office had said on camera like that, or off camera, had said, you know what, I think that Fox News hates our country. The MAGA folks would have gone apoplectic. But yet it's fine for Donald Trump to say, CNN hates our country. And again, remember, he is now asking the FCC chairman, which is pro-Trump, and wears a gold Trump head lapel pin. Trump is asking this guy to suspend the broadcast license of CBS, because he didn't like one of the stories on 60 Minutes. Again, this is right out of Nayib Bukele's playbook in El Salvador: intimidate the press and don't get them to report the truth because it's inconvenient. That's where we're at. And then you have the sycophants, the people who are just lapping up Trump's boots. Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi, Stephen Miller, telling outright lies to the press, and they're not called on it, by the way, by anybody in the press in the White House yesterday. Outright lies that this poor guy in the guy who's in prison in El Salvador is part of the MS-13 gang in El Salvador, which an American court initially brought that up, or a prosecutor, but because the guy had due process and his day in court, that was disproven. That was proven as false information. And the judge said at the time, because this guy is fearful of his life in his home country of El Salvador, regardless of how this hearing goes, he must not be sent back to El Salvador, the one country on earth that the court said he couldn't be sent to. And then fast forward to where now the Trump ICE folks round him up, disappear him. There is no evidence proven in court by the Trump administration that this guy should have been deported. There is no evidence he was part of a gang. But yet he's disappeared. And this whole narrative of Nayib sitting next to Trump yesterday saying, well, nobody can do anything. Give me a break. The United States is paying El Salvador $6 million to house all these people. If Trump had just said in front of the cameras, Nayib, we need this one guy back, or you know what, we're not going to be able to pay that next payment on the $6 million. He'd be back. These guys are stroking each other's political egos. We'll keep it clean. They're dependent on one another. They're the same type of person. It's just that Nayib Bukele is a lot smarter and understands that he has to take care of his own people to keep his popularity. But make no mistake about it, we are in a constitutional crisis here. The next move is back at the courts. Will the courts help to continue to uphold democracy, or will they surrender? Back with more after this. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Pete Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight from the Green Bay Children's Museum, our friend Heather Heil joins me in studio for some fun Northeast Wisconsin chat and a quiz she no doubt will ace. Let's light it up.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8. The John and Gordy Show.
Chicken cordon
LA Tom thinks he was not lying about not being able to bring the guy back because he's dead.
Well, let's hear him.
That is a very real possibility.
Could be. Yeah.
Well, cordon bleu, please. It's like the first time you've gone to the restaurant. Could I have some cordon bleu?
Sorry, sir. We don't serve cocaine here.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A hearing set for today in the deportation case of Filmar Abrego Garcia, a national mistakenly flown to a prison in El Salvador. Despite the Supreme Court ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his return to the U.S., President Trump and his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, deferring to El Salvador's president, who refuses to release him. ABC's Terry Moran has more.
In the Oval Office, the president of El Salvador made clear he's got no plans to send Abrego Garcia back to the U.S.
How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous.
The Democratic leader of the House calling on the courts to use judicial powers to pressure the administration.
TJ, how are you?
Todd, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for making time for us.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And make sure I get the pronunciation of your last name, Samantian. Is that correct?
You got it.
All right, very good. Awesome.
Yeah.
We can start just a little bit on Main Street Alliance again, just to kind of remind folks what that is and what the organization does, and then we can get further into kind of what the Trump tariffs mean to small businesses in Wisconsin, in particular the coffee business. Remind folks that no, we cannot grow coffee in Wisconsin, and why that matters. Yeah. But a lot of people don't get it. Oh, you can grow that in Florida.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Actually, no. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Wonder State and Roaster of the Year and that sort of thing. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I hopped on, I don't know, your homepage for the show and read a blog of your reaction to USAID. And
oh, yeah. That
was cool because I think we briefly talked about that. Who were you connected to in Madison with coffee?
Well, so our coffee shop that we had, I knew, I still know him, Alejandro Mendez, who was the world barista champion in 2011. And so through friends of mine in college, I started this unlikely relationship but love affair with the country of El Salvador. Sadly, I found no love in El Salvador, but I did find of a country. And, I've been there 39 times, and so developed relationships with farmers down there. And so we were buying directly from farmers there, roasting it there at their roastery, and then bringing it up here already roasted to our shop in Madison.
Okay. So you had a shop for a few years kind of thing?
5 years, yeah.
5 years.
All told, yeah. And the first one, long story short, I'll say it on the stream. I don't care, but I probably won't say it on the broadcast network. But it was, help me out, Zommers. Which one? Not Collectivo. No, Breeks. That they opened up a new shop like literally across the street, like a year after we opened, and so that was not helpful. And then, and so that went away, and then we started a second one with one of the other business partners I had. And we opened it up in 6 months before the pandemic. And so that was still going in Madison. I'm no longer a part of it. And
which shop is that again?
It's called Finca. It's on Rimrock Road. I think they're still buying coffee from El Salvador. Well, let me just quickly add, I am no longer a part of that in any way, shape, or form. And part of that is we just had a disagreement on how coffee should be treated and how it should be prepared and that sort of thing. So,
were you on the pickier side of it or the more?
Well, I'm on this. I'm on the side that the growers and the farmers, the producers do all the work, and the roasters, and once it kind of comes to us at the bar, we just try not to mess it up, and there should be standards and
Yeah.
of how
All
you
that
should do
hard
it.
work. Yeah. It's
Right.
so easy to just crap all over it. Right.
And other
Yeah.
people felt it was more of a bottom line and that sort of thing, and I was just like, no, that's not. I'm not doing that. So
Yeah, so I know the last time when we talked in Viroqua, we can geek out on coffee a little bit, but I also would love to just even touch on the USAID stuff because I mean USAID has been so huge in the coffee sector globally. So I mean, so we could jump into that a little bit if you want. That's another story that it's like what did I wake up pissed about today?
Yeah. Right.
And when that is still going down and still, So as much as tariffs are the hot topic, that one is also huge, a huge factor in the coffee world.
Fantastic. I'll be happy to talk about that. And do you want to invite anybody to call in, or do you rather not do that?
I'm game.
All right, we'll see if anybody has questions, and Zomer screens them, so he's good at that. We shouldn't get any sort of jerks on there. Usually, people are pretty good about that. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but I got pulled into a Fox News segment last week.
Yes, I heard it. Congratulations! I said that's big time. That's great.
That was big time. That was crazy. Yeah. So so in terms of the reaction, it was. I don't know if you saw it, but it was pretty friendly.
I didn't get to see it. No,
it was plenty friendly. I didn't get any zingers. But
we got about 10
Oh,
seconds.
here we go. Sorry.
10 seconds. Yeah. So the reaction was crazy to that. So I'm open for anything right now.
All right.
That's kind of my point.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour, 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. We are downtown Madison, Wisconsin at the world headquarters. Beautiful, partly sunny day, Mr. Zommers. I'm very excited about this hour and about our next guest. You know,
me too.
I know. Very, very excited indeed. Coming up a little bit later this hour, a What's Worse edition for you. Your chance to call in and voice your concerns on the nonsensical. But right now we have serious business to do and also some fun as well. He has been on our program before when he was kind enough to be our host in beautiful Viroqua, Wisconsin. Back for me, back in the home part of the state of the Driftless area, the CEO and president of Wonder State Coffee, which is the 2025 Roaster of the Year, Mr. TJ Samanchin joins us via StreamYard. TJ, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How you doing, Todd?
I am fantastic because for those watching on the stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, people know how much I enjoy Wonder State Coffee. And look what they got me for my birthday this year. A beautiful mug here with the Wonder State logo on it. It is filled with Agua Blanca from Colombia. Ooh. That's one of my favorites. I buy that a lot. And then this is a love-hate thing, TJ, because their cafe on the square, they sell these amazing, addictive crack. No, it's not crack. It is the salted chocolate chunk cookie, which I cannot get enough of.
Wow. You're getting the full effect there in the studio. That's great.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you for gearing me up and get me ready for the show today. Let's just start off a little bit. For those that might not have heard our previous shows, tell us a little bit about Wonder State Coffee, how it came about, and where it's located.
Yeah. So we are on our 20th year here in Viroqua. So as you mentioned, we're right in the heart of the Driftless region, close to your hometown. Mm-hmm. And for our first 10 years in business, we were just a wholesale roastery. So we import coffee from around the world, from Africa, Central and South America, directly from small farmers. We're really rooted in supporting farmers. That's at the core of our mission. and the other side of our mission is providing extremely high quality coffee. So that's what we've been doing since 2005. And then in 2015, we opened our first retail location, our first cafe. And we now have 3 cafes, one right on the Capitol Square in Madison, our flagship store. And then we have one here in our hometown of Viroqua and one up on the shores of Lake Superior in Bayfield, beautiful Bayfield. So we have 3 cafes now around the state. We sell online. We sell to local and national chains in the upper Midwest. We sell to independent coffee shops. We have some corporate campuses around Madison, some of the larger corporate campuses where the employees can enjoy our coffee at work. So yeah, we're around the state, around the upper Midwest, and then we sell quite a bit on our website nationally as well.
Yeah, and one of the great things I love about Wonder State is your respect for the farmer. And I had a stint in coffee. I was honored to have friends in El Salvador, and I talked about that last segment, more the political term. I never thought that my knowledge of El Salvador and the politics of El Salvador would come into play on a show like this, but it has. That's where we're at. But I've spent a lot of time there, and I was very fortunate because TJ knows this. But if you're in the coffee industry, they talk about, someday you'll get to go to origin, meaning where the coffee is grown. And I was kind of fortunate enough to start my coffee experience there and learn from it. Talk a little bit about at Wonder State Coffee, what that means. Do you visit and talk with farmers and that relationship and why that matters?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of got my start in coffee a similar way. I was living in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
And so I was studying issues around sustainable development, and just rural issues in Latin America. And so I was just living in the coffee lands and got to see firsthand the model of a small farmer coffee cooperative. The town I lived in, there was in Atenas, Costa Rica, there was Coopia Atenas, which was a coffee farmer cooperative. And so this was, small farmers who own their land, who own their cooperative and own their product all the way to the final destination, and the empowerment that brings for rural farmers in Latin America. That, contrary to that, we studied, that, and then the flip side was kind of bananas. And we, for those who know the history of banana republics and just how like banana in large multinational corporations have kind of, they control the land, they control the shipping, they control, back in the day, they controlled the country, right? They planted their politicians, right? So they owned all segments of society. And whereas, these democratically controlled coffee cooperatives really empower small farmers, and they keep those farmers on their land. They empower them. They give them a good return on their product. So those are the farmers that we're really committed to supporting. And, in a lot of countries, you've probably seen this in El Salvador, even in the coffee sector, there is really intense poverty, that there has been a lot of exploitation of coffee farmers, the workers, the laborers who work on the farms. And that has been, remnants of colonial power structures that persist till today. So part of, what we work towards is balancing out those power structures, making sure farmers are getting their fair shake. We work directly with them. We travel constantly. Nick, our director of coffee, was just down in Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guatemala, visiting with the farmers, setting up the terms for next year's harvest. Our hopes and their hopes, and sharing, what we're all trying to get out of this mutually beneficial trade. And we have these relationships for years and years. So yeah, at the core of our business is really those relationships with the farmers and our commitment to them.
I could talk coffee for 2 hours with TJ here. We're talking to TJ Samanchin, President and CEO of Wonder State Coffee in Wisconsin. But just one more, and then we'll kind of move on to the tariffs and USAID type of things. But just again, to put a fine point on this, TJ, because we tried to do something similar to what in our little coffee business, what you guys have done very successfully at Wonder State, which was to put the emphasis on the farmer. And ultimately, for the reasons you just stated and more, that requires that you probably are going to have to charge more than, say, hey, a Folgers or whatever. And I'm not here to hate on anybody, but I think it's important for you just to talk a little bit about there are different levels of coffee, and if you buy low quality coffee, it can taste like crap, especially if it's prepared poorly. But if you buy higher quality coffee, which is oftentimes found in higher elevations in more rural areas, to your point, where the producer doesn't even have a car or truck to get their lot to market on the coast. And so what happens is, and I'll just pick on the big one, and not to say that there aren't good things about it in some ways, but you have a Starbucks will go up way up on the mountain and give that farmer the lowest price for the highest quality of coffee. And so then you have things like Cup of Excellence who allow farmers to have their really good coffee exposed to more buyers, and that gives the power back to the farmer. And so that's why it's important, in my opinion, to buy coffee at a couple of bucks higher from people like Wonder State, because ultimately you're empowering the farmer. Am I wrong about that?
You stated it perfectly. Yeah, you're gonna be our spokesman. Yeah, that was perfect. Yeah. So how critical it is to, our part of our vision is we love good coffee. We are, we just love tasting things. We love the enjoyment of it, the morning cup, and have it be elevated, really treating it as a specialty beverage. That
Yes.
folks get this, right? Like, we know that sometimes you buy a $10 bottle of wine and sometimes a 30, or you buy your microbrewery, brewed beer, and right, that these come with an additional cost because they're higher quality, right? And coffee is in that same realm as a specialty beverage, that it can be elevated. It could be an elevated experience, something that there's just really amazing nuanced flavors in the cup. And to pull that off, the farmers have to work a lot harder and be really intentional. And so we want to be right there with those farmers, especially those farmers who historically haven't had access to the market, haven't had access to the techniques and the post-harvest processing that results in this high quality. We want to work with them and build their capacity so they can keep getting a higher and higher price for their product and keep improving the livelihoods of their families. That's really at the core of this, is, trying to support farmers who are, just trying to improve their lives.
About 2.5 minutes left before our first break, TJ. Talk to us a little bit about, we look at what's happening with the Trump tariffs, and you think, well, that's happening in other places. Tell folks a little bit how this is affecting people in the Main Street Alliance here in Wisconsin, particularly folks like yourselves at Wonder State who deal with commodities.
Yeah. So, wow, it's really brutal. It's brutal. What's happening for small businesses. These tariffs are directly hitting us, right? This is who pays for it. It's the businesses who are buying these products from, literally, I am the guy who pays the tariff, right? It is a direct increased cost of business. It's a tax. It's across the board. All of our coffee right now, 2 weeks ago, it was between 10 and 28% with the reciprocal tariffs. But right now, all of our coffee is going to get hit with a 10% tariff tax.
Wow.
That's just a boom, unexpected increased cost of business. I need to go out and find financing for that. I have to pay for that tariff upfront before we sell it to the end consumer, right? I got to come up with that cash. And so that's a scenario of, us our whole product line is from something that we import, something that cannot be grown in any volume in the United States. Between Hawaii and Puerto Rico, the U.S. produces like less than 0.5% of the world's production. There's no way to replace coffee domestically, right? It is a product that grows in the tropics, and we have to import it. And so, that's a heavy hit for us. But, I have been hearing stories of other small businesses who are just mom and pop shops who came up with a good idea and they brought a product to market. And where was that? Only place in the world that product could be produced at a lower volume is China, right? And they've set up a relationship with a manufacturer in China, right? But these are U.S. businesses, U.S. families who are just facing a decimatingly high level of tariffs.
We're talking to TJ Samanchik of Wonder State Coffee. We'll come back and continue our conversation. If you have a question, give us a call at 855-752-4842. As they said one time on SNL, it's coffee talk. Come on back. No big whoop. This is fantastic. I mean, I could just sit here and talk about this stuff all day, obviously, because I'm very passionate about it.
So could I. We're in good company.
But I think it's really, really important. I'm not sure what your experience has been, but during my time, it's just that was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. Owning the cafe is when somebody would come in and we'd have coffee, or we'd have creamer and sugar like in a little thing like away from the main bar, and I'd see him go over and I'd be like, hey, you might want to just try it without putting anything in it. Well, I don't know. And then they take a sip like, oh my God, I've never had a coffee. Like, I mean, to see that experience, and I mean, that was the whole thing for me.
To take someone from cream and sugar to black coffee, I mean, that is like, we know we've done it, right? That
exactly.
is like, exactly. That is like, boom. All right.
Right.
We've done our job.
And that's just the gentle education, and then to see people come back and order things and not put all the sugars and everything into it. I mean, that's what it's all about for me. So.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of consumer, and that's what's so amazing about coffee, right? Because you get to have that kind of taste experience, the hospitality side, but then, wow, yeah, you start digging under the covers of what's happening in the coffee world and the people behind it, and the the genetics of it, the agronomy of it, all of it, right? Like, it's like, wow, there's so much here.
So many people have no idea or concept that coffee actually has natural flavor. And this was years ago, it's like 2016, we would order different coffee from different places and just have like tastings
20 seconds
in the bar. We ordered one from Blue Cup one time. It was Ethiopian, or Blue Bottle from Ethiopia.
Yeah,
and
right.
you would have sworn you would have had like a strawberry jam inside of it. It was so pronounced. And people were just, anyway, all right, here we go.
I'm gonna try and get my lighting. That's probably better.
Way down among Brazilians, coffee beans grow by the billions, so they've got to find those extra cups to fill. They've got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil.
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. They have coffee in Brazil. They also have coffee in Viroqua and in Bayfield and in Madison. Other places as well. We can get it at Wonder State Coffee. The president and CEO of the company, TJ Samanchik, is our guest this half hour. TJ, great to have you along. We were geeking out about coffee over the break. I mean, it's just, I think when you talk to somebody else who gets coffee, it's just like you can go on and on because, and people who haven't had the privilege to be in that position, it's like, what do you get so excited about coffee for? It's like, because it's so cool.
Right. Although, who doesn't? I mean, we all, like 70% of Americans drink coffee daily. Mm-hmm. So once we get on this topic, I think we're actually in good company. I think people love talking about coffee because it's a common denominator. We all enjoy it.
Yeah, it really is. TJ and Wonder State are part of Main Street Alliance here in Wisconsin, talking a little bit about tariffs. I want to talk about some of the things in the USAID as well, but did I miss anything, TJ? Is there anything that you want to pass on to folks, either about the coffee industry or about small mom and pop businesses in general in Wisconsin on tariffs?
Yeah, I'm really concerned about a lot of our fellow small businesses. I think we're going to see if this continues. And again, it changes day by day, so you don't know, what the administration is going to do. But if it continues right now, we're going to see businesses just go under, without a doubt. Small businesses are not going to be able who are dependent on imports and are being required to pay these tariffs up front. They're not going to have the cash, and this is going to put them under. So I'm really, really concerned about that.
And we talked about this when we were up in Viroqua, at your cafe up there. I mean, Wonder State's the kind of place. I mean, you're providing health care. You're providing some of these benefits to your employees in small towns and large, all across Wisconsin. We hear people say, well, we want employers to take care of our employees. Here's a place, the Wonder State, that's doing that. So now you're doing that, but now you're also having to pay for this tariff, and you have to make tough choices about how you're going to treat your employees. Ultimately, this is going to get passed on to the consumer if people want the companies to keep taking care of their employees.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we can't bear, just a 10% increase on, and we're also, I want to be clear too, we're in a moment, we're at historically high coffee prices.
Yes.
So this is a multiplier effect of something that has already really hit our industry. We just increased prices. We had to. And this, in a way, this is a win for the farmers.
Right.
That music piece in the break, a lot of coffee in Brazil. Well, for the past few years, largely because of climate disruptions, there hasn't been as much coffee in Brazil. And that has caused a supply crunch. So the commodity market for coffee is at historic highs. Right. So these tariffs are coming on top of that. The market was below $2 a pound. This is commodity commercial grade coffee, below $2 a pound. And it just peaked over $4. So the tariff is hitting us at 10%, right? If it was at $2, it's a 20 cent per pound tariff. Now it's a 40 cent per pound. I mean, so this is just terrible timing. And
we don't have time to necessarily get all into this, but just yes or not, more than yes or no, but make sure I'm correct. Everything you just said, and then put on to that climate change where some of the coffee in some of these places is developing something called coffee rust, and they're having to go to higher altitudes and in some cases relocate farms. And that also is driving up prices, right?
Exactly. It's just harder for farmers to grow coffee for a lot of reasons. Climate change is the driving, but there's also political instability. You mentioned things like USAID. Farmers need support in getting their product to market. They need the infrastructure. They need the marketing. And so you need the institutions that can support these farmers in doing that. So it's just getting harder and harder by the day, and that's putting a downward pressure on supply.
About 3.5 minutes left, TJ. Talk about what you just said. USAID. We hear a lot about the tariffs. What's going on there? Talk about the impact that the Trump administration's cuts and basically getting rid of USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development, what that is doing to the coffee industry and around the world.
Yeah, this is such a short-sighted policy. It is so brutal, and to be doing it so fast and furious. So USAID, I honestly don't know of a farmer that we work with that has not in some way benefited from USAID support. And that could be support with technical assistance in the field, support with marketing. USAID has taken coffee professionals and hooked them up with up and coming producer groups to help them draw that link of how to market to their coffee to the international market. And these are not huge spends. These are low, this is a couple plane ticket kind of things for professionals to come and share their expertise with farmers that are working hard, try bringing their product to market. And these are in areas of the world that are politically unstable. We're talking about the DRC in Africa and Ethiopia, Colombia, Southern Mexico, places where if there's not stable options for farmers, this is where they get pushed into narco trafficking. This is where they get pushed into extremist groups, jihadist groups, potentially in Africa. These are the places where, as the social fabric kind of falls apart, these bad actors can come and prey on them. And I see it. I see it in Colombia. When prices are down, I see that farmers rip out their coffee trees and they put in coca. And as soon as they do that, you're bringing in the bad actors. Those communities then have guns, they have violence, they have all the things that brings with it. So USAID has provided a platform for stability. It has provided a platform for companies like us to find those farmers and to buy from them. It's not charity. This is just infrastructure support. And this is as critical as like building a road from your port so that you can get your product out, right? I mean, these are, things that we take for granted, that we have a lot of support here in the US for this, but in other countries, small rural farmers don't have access and know-how of how to get their product to the international market.
TJ Samanchin, Wonder State Coffee, I cannot thank you enough for taking time for us. Very educational. On the bottom of each bag of Wonder State Coffee, it says, stay curious, which I think is exactly where we need to be right now as a country. And if you want to buy a product that is curious, but also has a social conscience and just is the best coffee around, for my money, Wonder State.
Appreciate it, Todd. Yeah, it's great talking to you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, TJ. Thank you very much from Main Street Alliance. Come on back. We'll do a little What's the Worst next on the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. Thank you so very much. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good talking, as always.
All right, you as well. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, you have a good day.
You
Take
as
care,
well.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Could easily talk about coffee for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh,
I would love to listen to it for 2 hours.
It's just a lot of
For
fun.
92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Someone was shot in Stoughton
That is
yesterday.
something that I
It
wish I got
happened
to
right
learn
near
more
Main
about.
Street
I mean,
in broad
obviously it's not
daylight.
too late.
They
But I just
responded
mean
to
when I
Main
worked
Street
at
near
Starbucks
Division
and
and
everything.
found a man who had been shot. He was taken
And when
to
they,
the hospital.
again, I've said
Police
this
say
before to
there's
you,
no
but
risk to the
people in the stream
public
might
because
not
they
know.
don't believe this
When
was
you
a
work at
random
Starbucks,
crime.
every once in a while,
Meanwhile, a fight
they
between
bring
two
in
women
somebody who
ended
really
with one of
knows
them
their
dying
stuff
in Blue Mounds
and
yesterday.
like bring in
The Dane County Sheriff's Office
coffee
says
from
someone called
their
911 about a
reserve
disturbance
roasteries,
between
and
two women
they'll
before
make
noon. And
small
when they got
little
there, they found
batches
a
of French press, and
54-year-old
everyone
woman
gets to
who was
try it, and
hurt.
they walk you through
She
the best
died.
ways to
Authorities had a
sip it
31-year-old person of
and
interest. They
smell
caught her
it
after
and
a
really
chase,
get all the
and
flavors.
she's now in custody.
No, I've
And
said,
the drama
I mean,
continues in the race for Wisconsin's
Starbucks
first
is some of the
Buc-ee's
best training I've
location.
ever had, actually.
McFarland
They have
was
a great
supposed to be
training
the first,
program.
but
They
that's
do.
on hold
And they
because
do
the
have a
roads
certain in
around
that
it need
reserve
millions
level.
of dollars
They do
worth of
deal in
work.
some great
Governor
coffees. It's
Tony
just
Evers
that
has included
so much of
extra
it is
money
not.
in his budget
Right,
for it,
right.
but of course that's now in the hands of the Republican-led legislature. So after that news, the mega gas station chain picked another location
LA
in
Tom,
Oak
I'm just
Creek,
telling the
and that
truth. I
one
mean, I
seemed to be moving forward
actually
faster than
really
the one
drink
here
it
in
every
Dane
day,
County.
every morning.
But now there may
He
be
does.
bumps in the road there too. A group of neighbors in Oak Creek has filed a lawsuit against the city. People living near
As
where
Joe
that
Biden
Buc-ee's
says,
would
"I'm
be
not joking
claim the city
around.
rushed zoning
not kidding,
changes
man.
without
Come
addressing
on."
their concerns about noise, traffic, and lower property
All
values.
right.
And a Wisconsin native was part of the Blue Origin rocket launch yesterday. Rob Blau grew up in Chippewa Falls. He told WQOW that he worked on the engine in yesterday's rocket. He does maintenance, repair, and inspections. Part of his job is to make sure they can use that engine again in future launches. He said it was a teacher at Chippewa Valley Technical College that sparked his interest in physics, and he wouldn't rule out going to space himself someday. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Despite the risk of getting vomited on or having a soda thrown at them, audiences still continue to flood theaters to see the Minecraft movie. It was tops at the box office for the second week in a row. According to Variety, the film showed an impressive hold in its second week, with the crowd size diminishing.
Did I tell you about the crazy stuff people are doing at the Minecraft movie showings?
281 million domestically and 550 million globally.
Middle schoolers.
They're throwing popcorn, right?
Yeah. I think I told you some about it, but also I saw a video that somebody took where they were setting off fireworks in the theater.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fourth place with a take of about
It's
8.5 million.
I can't believe they're actually doing this crazy stuff.
Beyond intense. And the thriller drop came in
Setting
fifth
off
place with
fireworks.
That's a good way to go to jail.
Well, yeah, and then the cops came in and escorted him out, and everyone else in the theater is singing na 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 na, hey hey,
my gosh.
goodbye. It's like, what is wrong with you people?
Civic Media Radio Network.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
With more and more sunshine today, winds are still whipping out of the northwest, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. But those high temperatures still tap 50. With a high-pressure system settling in tomorrow, it'll be bright and beautiful, with plenty of sunshine and warmer, too, with highs in the upper 50s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 46 degrees at our studios.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
New texter on our text line said this: I think any other president would take these protests very seriously, but our current one couldn't care less. Anybody remember, Nero fiddling while Rome burned? You get a little of that vibe here. The man's off golfing over the weekend as the world economy is lit on fire and nosediving.
Larry, if you're watching from Deerfield, if you're watching the stream, I like the Agua Blanca. It's from Colombia. Has hints of raspberry, brown sugar, and I forget what the other one is. Notes of that. So I can mention it quickly on the air too if Larry's not watching the stream.
Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Colombia Agua Blanca. Wow, I can talk.
This is freetirement.org, brought to you by
wherever it may lead, even to a coffee cup, and having fun doing it. See, that was a part of the fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media, 34 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Just think, Summers, a week from tomorrow, we'll just be getting ready for the show.
You're right. Well, I hope we're more than just starting to get ready at this time. But
well, let's be honest. It might just be starting to get ready.
Yeah, probably.
Don't worry, if you haven't heard, we're moving a couple hours. To 2 o'clock, starting next Wednesday. So starting next Wednesday, you can hear us every afternoon from 2 until 4. And the reason is because Zommers and I need more sleep.
I did. We didn't plan this, but I did yawn right as he was saying that. I didn't know that's what he was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Many thanks to TJ Samantian from Wonder State Coffee. How about that guy? Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Really
yes,
fantastic.
Absolutely.
One of our listeners, where is it from again? I'm sorry. Deerfield. Beautiful Deerfield, Wisconsin. Larry in Deerfield says, hi, Todd. What Wonder State coffee beans do you recommend? I'm planning on ordering. Look, I'll simply say, just since you asked, what's in my cup, and normally when I buy whole bean, and I have the Agua Blanca from Colombia. Colombian coffee. And what's the cool thing is, and other places do this as well, higher end coffee roasters, but a Wonder State, they'll give you like what notes each coffee, just like wine. Because if you buy high end coffee, as TJ was saying, each one has a unique flavor profile. And just like you have people, was it Salmoner, whatever for the wine taster.
Sommelier.
That's it. We're not that fancy back where I'm from, but yes, sommelier. There's 160 some different flavors, profiles in wine. Exact same thing in coffee, but 162 different natural flavors in coffee. The reason people that say, well, I never tasted that, is because a lot of places will buy low-end coffee that naturally tastes bad, and to cover that up, they burn the coffee. And when you burn coffee, when you roast it, whole bean, it turns that really dark, shiny color. But through really great marketing, coffee companies have convinced the consumer, if it's dark and shiny, it has lots of caffeine in it, and it will make you wired. And so they come up with great marketing gimmicks. If you see coffee that's shiny, it looks oily and like dark, that is bad, over-roasted, burnt coffee. And it's going to taste bitter, and it's going to taste like charcoal, because that's basically what they've done to it. Properly roasted coffee is going to have a matte finish on it. It's going to look brown, all right? Brown and a matte finish. And then if you properly grind it and then properly prepare it, here's a little tip for home coffee roasters: water. Because guess what? Coffee in your cup is 98% water. So either use like a zero water or whatever, or bottled water or something like that. Don't use tap water when you make coffee at home.
That's huge. That was one thing.
Yeah.
When I worked at Starbucks, they really emphasized, we have I don't remember how many times, like 5 times filtered water or something to have super clear water to make their coffee because that's what most of it is.
Right. So water is very important, but then buy from roasters that do it right like that. And so if you buy coffee like that and prepare it properly and you kind of train your palate, you can sometimes taste a fruit flavor, whether it's nectarine or raspberry or other flavors, brown sugar, straw, on and on, brown, all these natural flavors in coffee. And so just like you have a sommelier in wine, in coffee is called a Q cupper. And don't ask me why, but it's called a Q cupper. And you go through all this training and you have to have somewhat of a natural palate, just like in wine. And these people will sip, they have competitions and they sip the coffee. And you say, well, how can they sip all that coffee? There's a spittoon next to them. And they have it on a tablespoon or a teaspoon, and they put it up to their lips and they suck it in because they want the air and the coffee to hit all of their taste buds. And so it sounds like birds. They go, and they suck it in, they swirl around, and they spit it out. They don't actually drink all that coffee. And so that's how you grade coffee properly, and you come up with the different notes and things like that. So there's everything and more you ever wanted to know about coffee. Larry in Deerfield says, my daughter uses a conical grinder. Is that what you mean by proper grinding? Yeah, it's a burr grinder. So that means that it looks like gears inside the grinder. You can, I used to tell people, you can use like a general like spice grinder with one blade that just goes around. Hey, that's better than nothing. But yes, a conical burr grinder has generally three different gears, it looks like, that grind the coffee, and you can set it and adjust it. So, we can geek out on coffee. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to L.A., Tom, quickly. We got to get to what's worse. L.A., what do you got for us?
Well, I just want to say that what a great education about coffee, and also I think just small mom and pop businesses, not the big corporations that call themselves small businesses. But I wanted to report that 12,500 people in Idaho showed up last night for AOC and Bernie's Fight the Oligarchy tour. And I'd really recommend to anyone, if you have the Midas touch, or just check it out online, check out her speech. Her voice is really becoming her voice now, and it's pretty exciting. So I hope everyone checks it out.
Thanks, L.A. Appreciate you checking in. Have a great day out there on the beautiful West Coast. Chris, our own Chris Casper, one of our great engineers, checking in on YouTube, saying, I like non-shiny beans. Same with me, Casper. Ethiopian is his favorite. Very close second are all these Central American coffees. Yeah, very close. I would probably, just my personal bias, I'd probably reverse that. I'm probably more into fruit flavored, slightly sweeter, slightly less acidic Central American, but there's a lot of great Ethiopian coffees. We were talking to TJ during the break, another great roaster, not in Wisconsin, but out in Los Angeles, Blue Bottle. And one time I got an Ethiopian from Blue Bottle and did a pour over, and you would swear that somebody had taken a teaspoon of strawberry jam and mixed it around. It was that. Even a person, I'm not a Q cupper I'm not certified to grade coffee, but even somebody like me, whoa, it's like that. That is amazing. And that was an Ethiopian. So very good. 855-752-4842. Quickly, Mark in Prairie du Sac. Mark, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, getting back to the whole Trump thing, that a quote from the Declaration of Independence, I think, has applied to Trump now for a long reason, that our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. I'm just appalled at the fact that the Republicans en masse, as most of the Democrats have been not condemning Donald Trump's comment about, I don't give FCC non-compliant word inserted here, that he could round up American citizens and ship them to El Salvador, and that, and probably without trial and all that, and they're not actually just coming out and condemning that. If Biden would have operated in that fashion, that's taking these powers that Trump has assumed that he has, Donald Trump's ass would be, in some very unpleasant place, like perhaps duplicating the cell of Little E's in the Tower of London.
Yeah. It's a great great point, Mark. I appreciate you calling a couple of segments back. But yeah, that White House meeting yesterday with Bukele, that was of all the meetings, that was one of them. All right, 43 minutes past the hour. Time for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. And of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this.
Time once again for What's Worse. No prize money to give away. Nothing involved in terms of monetary benefit, but it is your chance to hear your voice heard across all 11 news talk sports stations in the Civic Media Network. Largest privately owned network in the state of Wisconsin. No better chance and no better way to have your business heard than advertising here on Civic Media. Go to civicmedia.us to find out how. All right, this is timely indeed, as Mike Lucas likes to say, because I'm not sure. Good gosh, Zalber's got the hiccups. That's what I get for eating a salted chocolate chunk cookie on the air.
But they're so good.
I'm not sure about you, but living alone, I like to cook. I just don't like to cook for myself. But when I do, I feel like, well, okay, now I gotta, I'll cook and I'll have leftovers for a couple of days. But then you're like, all right, I don't like chili. I'll make a pot of chili and eat on that for a week. I'm fine with that. But then other things, it's like, after a couple of days, I'm done with it. So here now, today's category, leftovers or throwing out leftovers. What's worse? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. What's worse? Leftovers or throwing out leftovers? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842, or you can text us on the Civic Media app. If you don't have it, get it today. It is free, takes less than a minute to download. Go to your app store on your Apple or Android device, type in Civic, CIVIC Media. It'll pop up. Just download it, and you're set to go. How about that? What's worse, leftovers or throwing out leftovers? Zombers, this is what I struggle with sometimes. I really do because I'll make it, and then after a couple days, I'm like, well, not after, but maybe I'll have maybe I'll make some chicken, and it'll be like 4 days, but it's better in the refrigerator, and I've eaten that for like 2 or 3 days,
right?
And there's a couple of other pieces of chicken left. I don't really want to put it in the freezer, but I feel guilty about throwing it away.
Yeah. I agree. I think throwing away, yeah, it's tough. It depends what the leftovers are and how much you have.
Right.
Because again, if you're eating the same thing all week, that can get pretty old.
Right.
Especially when reheated in the microwave and then, chilled again and then reheated again.
Right. And then, of course, you're flipping through channels and you see the ads for, starving Ethiopian children.
Right.
And you think, well, they would love this. Here I am. I'm a glutton. How lucky am I to have this surplus? And what, I'm going to throw this out in the garbage while there's kids starving across the world?
So yeah, I think I got to say throwing out leftovers is worse. And also, not only that, but if you forget about something and you have it stuck in the back of the fridge and it gets
and
moldy,
then you gotta throw it out.
You gotta throw it out, and that also sucks. It's like,
Right.
Okay, do I even open this to check if it's moldy, or do I just assume and throw the
sometimes
whole
I'll
container
throw out
out?
the whole container.
No, you gotta
Yeah.
throw out the whole
Yeah.
container at that point.
Matt in Middleton on the text line, WMDX says, throwing out leftovers is worse. I hate wasting food and feel foolish for making too much. And he goes on to say, leftover food is toxic. Well, yes. If you let it go too far, it certainly can be, right? What else we have here? Matt, I guess, that was something else. Kurt in Madison says on WMDX, I always feel guilty and disgusted with myself when I have to throw away leftovers.
He's also called in.
Oh, very Kurt's all right. Kurt's on the line. 855-752-4842. Kurt, I guess we kind of already gave it away, but leftovers or throwing out leftovers? What's worse?
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's
I
fine.
should have called it. One of the things I do, because you're right, there's only two of us in our house. It's very difficult to cook for one, even two people. So what I typically do is I make sure I have a good network of friends in the neighborhood.
Oh.
And the minute I have something in excess, like chili,
yep.
I sent out group text saying, chili available. Now I'm a very good cook, so people usually take me up on
I love it. That's
out of the rut of throwing stuff away.
Now, see, I had a big bag of curd yesterday. I wasn't going to eat all that myself, so I brought it into the office, and people devoured it because it's fantastic.
They were delicious.
They're from
yeah.
Carr Valley, fresh cheese curd. Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate it. 855-752-4842. Dick and Madison. Dick, 30 seconds. Leftovers or throwing out leftovers? What's worse?
Well, throwing out, because in my case, they usually are science fair projects by the time they throw them out.
You're saying you're not the best cook? Is that it?
Just that they're old and get moldy?
What?
You know, I tend to bury stuff in the refrigerator, and I forget about it.
Like a fossil. I get it.
Yeah,
Stay tuned. Back to wrap it up after this. Don't go anywhere on the Allbaugh Show.
Conversation 92.7 WMDX.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for
Some leftovers are great. Like,
some are.
Any kind of rice-based dish tends to be good.
Yeah.
Pizza, leftover pizza. I know some people aren't big fans, but I love cold pizza. I don't know why. Something about it.
His case is now back in federal court. April 4th, the North Carolina Appeals Court, on which Judge Jefferson Griffin currently sits, supported Griffin's position that 60,000 voters were never properly registered, and that as many as 5,000 military and overseas voters didn't supply ID when they registered to receive their special mail-in UOCAVA ballots. April 11th, the North Carolina Supreme Court allowed the 60,000 voters to stand, but gave the approximately 5,000 military and overseas voters only 30 days to provide missing information or be disqualified, and a federal judge ordered that the race not be certified. April 12th, the League of Women Voters filed a federal class action lawsuit on behalf of those military
I
and
did
overseas
convince my
voters. Griffin's
roommate
opponent,
Parker, who
State
drinks a
Supreme
lot of
Court
coffee every day, to
Justice
stop
Allison
using
Riggs,
Folgers, but
appealed
he
the
still does
decision
use tap water
before
and
Pete.
just,
In a blistering
a
dissent,
percolator, and
the
it
state
sits there all
Supreme
day,
Court
and everything, and
Justice
it's like,
Justice Anita Earls wrote,
so close.
Some would call it
You have
stealing
good
the
coffee now.
election.
Right.
Others might call it a bloodless coup, but by whatever name, no amount of smoke and mirrors makes it legitimate. We've linked to more at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
Listen to the John and Gordy Show weekdays right here on WMDX, sponsored by Verlo Mattress. Sleep better, dream bigger on a handcrafted, locally made mattress.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're in tune with. Check of weather with our great weather team, Mike Clemens. Who is better at sports than Mike Clemens? Answer, nobody. Mike Clemens, our great sports reporter, will be in with a sports update talking about the Brewers. Zombers went down and tried to help them out last night. Didn't work out too well. But they're back on track today, the Brewers are. You can listen to them across the Civic Media Network starting at 6:05 for the pregame show in the old RC hometown of Richland Center, Oshkosh, Racine, Kenosha, Park Falls, and Hayward over the air. Starting at 6:05, Brewers against the Detroit Tigers. And then, of course, after the sports update, Maggie Dawn on the Maggie Dawn Show, following us here on the Civic Media Radio Network. And later on, Pete Schwaba at 6 o'clock, 6 until 8, Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Asking the important question of the day, what's worse, leftovers or throwing out leftovers? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Off the text line here, Steve, listening on the great station WGBW up in Green. By the way, Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich is going to be on the show tomorrow. I'm very, very excited about this. So we'll be talking to Mayor Genrich tomorrow, who is there in Green Bay. But Steve in Green Bay says the only way I'm throwing out leftovers is if they're moldy. And here's something I learned from the great master cheesemaker Sid Cook at Carr Valley Cheese, that if you get like a block of cheese and there's a little bit of mold on one end or a corner, just cut that little part off. The rest of it's fine.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't mean that mold is part of a natural enzyme or whatever. In most, if the mold's all the way through the block or whatever, then that's one thing. But if there's just because what happens is that if we open a block of cheese and cut it and we touch it with our fingers, the natural, whatever you want to call it, bacteria on our fingers, if our hands are just freshly washed, that goes on the cheese. That's what grows the mold. And
News
so
you can use.
Yeah, so you just cut that little piece off. The rest of the cheese is fine. And listening in Chippewa Falls and WAUK, throwing out leftovers, Ann said, is worse. John, listening on WISS and Oshkosh, throwing away leftovers is way worse. We eat them for a day, then freeze them. A lot of things are better left over anyway. Agree with that, John. I particularly like chili on day number 2. I think we already did Matt in Middleton. What else we got here? DJ in the Saw in Wausau, listening on WXCO, says throwing out leftovers is way worse. I hate wasting food. If my wife brings something home and is uneaten after 24 hours, it's mine. Seeing people literally starving in other places scared me for life. So how about that? That's a good one. Dave in New Berlin, throwing out leftovers is worse. Not only does it keep the grocery bill down, but as you just said, there are people going hungry. Yeah, I totally. Len in Madison on WMDX, don't throw out leftovers. Deposit them in your pass-through account. Okay, very good. Listener in McGuanago. I love saying that. In listening on WAUK in McGuanago, by 4 days, your food is forming toxins. Throw it out. Well, okay. Maybe on everything, though? I don't know. Maybe. Diane in Madison on MDX, food is so expensive. Cook what you will eat and try not to waste. And finally, Tom out in LA, Tom in Los Angeles, throwing out leftovers is worst and wasteful. Oh, I'm sorry. Dick in Madison, I apologize. I was going to go through all the texts, and I was going to finish up and let Dick have the last word.
Well, we did have his call already last segment.
Oh, all right.
Also,
see, I got it's the mad cow.
Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich is actually joining us on Thursday, not tomorrow.
Oh, really? All right. Well, speaking of mad cow, I can't remember. This is why I surround myself with people younger than myself. But he will be here Thursday.
Yes.
Tomorrow we've got Trygve Olsen, and then we've got the folks from the new group here in Wisconsin getting fusion voting going. Former Democratic Sheriff of Dane County, Dave Mahoney, and my former boss, Dale Schultz, a Republican, and Chris Andrews, the executive director, all are going to be here talking about fusion voting. And I believe Trygve Olsen may grace us with his presence as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Great show tomorrow. Great show today, Zommers. Did you already say what you thought was worse? Leftovers or throwing out leftovers?
Yeah, I got to agree with the crowd on this one that throwing out leftovers is worse just because it's wasteful and can also be disgusting if you've accidentally left them in the back of the fridge.
Yeah, we're in agreement on this one. I would say throwing out leftovers is worse. Just the guilt for me. And also, I don't know. I think, because I really don't mind leftovers unless it's really like, I don't know. But see, chili, I literally can eat chili every day for 4 days and be fine with that.
Well, yeah, especially because as it sits for another day in the fridge, I feel like the flavors get more intense.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So, all right. Throwing out leftovers, that's what's worse. Join us tomorrow for another exciting edition of What's Worse. Great show. Fun show today, Zommers. I thought that was great. Pat Kreitlow, always fantastic to have him on. And then you got TJ's Samanchen, and we get to talk coffee. I mean, I hate to quote Jim Harbaugh, former coach of Michigan, and now with the whatever they're called, the Raiders out in the desert. But I mean, he likes to say, what is it? Who has it better than us? And then he says, nobody. I mean, come on. Who has it better than we get to come on the air, talk to people about coffee and life and listen. I mean, who has it better than us? Nobody.
I look forward to the next time you get to have a nice in-depth coffee discussion with somebody, because that's very interesting. I, and obviously several of the listeners who commented, really enjoy hearing about that.
I think it's fun, and we want to do more of this as we move forward, talk to other business owners. Many thanks to Main Street Alliance as well for helping us set TJ up, and our very own Mr. Luke Mathers as well. Fun show today. Glad to have you all along. Stay tuned for Maggie Dawn next. Todd Allbaugh saying whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll live to fight another day. We'll see you tomorrow for Hump Day. Make it a good one.
Banging on your drum, keep banging on, and your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
Adios, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.